My guest is here already. Let me just bring in. Is little over. Okay, hold on 1 second. This. Just hold on, Di. I'm gonna be bring you in. I'm getting to report here. There's echo in the background. Let me just do a little bit housekeeping here. If what the reason is, that reason, and we can have it fixed right away so that. Okay, Julius, just double check to see whether it is still there. Just give me a feedback, so we will know exactly why it is, but I believe it should be fine by now. It's 3 minutes after 4 in the West African state of the Republic of Liberia, 11:03 in Bangkok. Here we go. Let me bring in my guest standing by right here in the USA, and Dr. STEFANIA FORTE is my special guest here. As we promised, we committed this program going to bring in variety of intellectuals and those that are involved in multitudes of roles in the country. This is your second time on this network, but this time you're going to be speaking directly inside Liberia. Good afternoon and welcome on the Liberian World today.
Thank you, Mr. It's a pleasure to see you again, and I'm excited to be here. So I look forward to talking about everything I'm involved with and just exchanging with you. The last time I was here, it was Mr. Wowo and I, right? We're together.
Yes.
About our plans for Change Agent Network, and hopefully today I can share some updates with you as well. So thank you.
Okay. Like I said, you will be speaking to your mother country, the country that you so dearly love, both of us and every other Liberian. So it means we have much more diverse backgrounds or listeners here this evening. So hit the point quickly. We have 1 hour. We want to keep within that time scope, but I just fair to mention to introduce yourself. Like you come from the house's mouth.
Sure. My name is Dr. STEFANIA FORTE. I am a daughter of Liberia, specifically Grand Gita Bazon district. That's where my mother is from, and my father is from Italy. But my father, I can say he's a Liberian Italian because he went to Liberia in the 60s with a company called Vianini, which was one of the first infrastructure companies from Italy that came there during the Tubman administration. And he built the Sesta, on the Sesta River there, the bridge, the highway there, Ganta area, and participated in just a lot of spaces when it comes to construction and infrastructure development in the country. So his first English that he learned was Liberian English. So that my parents, and I'm the last of 4 boys, and I'm an educator. I've taught several universities here, adjunct position, and now I'm the board president of Change Agent Network. Is the largest Liberian infrastructure development, education infrastructure development organization in the country. And I'm also a consultant when it comes to monitoring evaluation. I'm a mother of a wonderful, energetic 6-year-old, and I'm also a part of the Grand Gita Association in the Americas. And we have some projects that are running now in the areas of education, of course, and women and children development. So it's a lot more, but one of my last endeavors, it publicly, because privately I've been doing a lot of work with that, is in the field of literacy, specifically early literacy. That is actually my area of interest and where I've done some of my research. And now we're just taking it nationally and making sure that we can involve young people and take accountability in that literacy journey of the child. So in a nutshell, that is me, but I look forward to sharing more. Thanks.
Ooh, I could have done this sort of explosive, elaborate, and concise intro. I could have left some great pieces out. Thank you so much for your work, and thank you so much for all of these multiple engagement. I'm not sure where the strength coming from. Are you drinking energy 5-star or 10-star? I don't know. But thank you so much for everything. Okay, let's get the ball rolling here. Your network, you are involved in multitudes of roles, activities here and inside Liberia. What is the birth of this and why?
Well, the birth of it starts from just the home, right? We all left Liberia. I left Liberia as one of the fortunate ones before the war started. I remember my parents telling us, we're just going on vacation, we'll be right back. And we just didn't come back for decades. And going to Italy and just knowing that I had a responsibility just through the upbringing that I had, my responsibility to give back and to understand the duty that I have in my specific area of education to help that system that is struggling. So it definitely comes from the home. Then it comes from my training and understanding the importance and the transformative powers of education. And then, I also say passion. And as an individual, I was the child that was teaching my stuffed animals, and I was the child that would come out and teach everybody whatever I know. So I'm an educator at heart, and coupled with just the upbringing at home, being an educator at heart, all of those things, just culminates into who I am today. I find myself teaching, and I find myself just in the space of education. So that's the birth of it.
Hmm. That's quite interesting. For the most part, most people come here, they become successful, and they say bye-bye. They don't look back. We were able to, through your network and folks working with you, were able to capture some very fascinating images during your visit. But let's start it on bit and pieces here. You recently were in Liberia. I went to Homeboy County, Grangida. By the way, I'm Grangida. I'm proud of you, of what you are doing. Give a little bit run through here, that mission, and how did it go?
So it all started with me being the guest speaker at the National Convention for the Graduate Association in the Americas. I believe it was in March or April this year. And this is the culmination of the initial part of it, I guess, the first phase, where we shared information about having a leadership academy and also a women resource center, women and children resource center in the country. So that was the start of it. And then I went to Liberia with Mr. Wowo. And we know going to Liberia and traveling to the rural area during the rainy season is not easy. It's one of the most difficult journeys ever. So it took us to go through. So we did Grand Bassa, we did River Sino, even before getting to Grangida, because the road through Nimba was so bad that if you travel on that road, you might get stuck there for a few days. So we took the longer journey of 15 hours to get to Zwedru. Then also we went from Zwedru, after a few days there, we went to Bazon district and the town of Zletown. And I actually wanted to go further to Toad Town, but it was difficult to get there because the road conditions even worse in that area. So we had to leave the car and start with the motorbike. So we're on a motorbike for almost an hour and then went to Zletown. Now, the reason why we went to Grangida is because not only is my birth county, but Change Agent Network, we've built schools around the country. We have schools we've built over 27 schools, but we have under our system 6 schools now in 6 different counties. So this is our first journey into starting something into the southeastern region, and I'm proud to say it's in my county. So in Zwedru, we'll have the Leadership Academy and the Women and Children Resource Center. Then in Bazon District, specifically Zletown, we will have a vocational education program that is funded in partnership with Change Agent Network, that is funded by the Bazon District Association in the Americas as well. So we can talk more about the journey, but I can stop here for now.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much for that explanations. It is good that way. So I believe it's all started like you just right for the portrait from the Graduate Associations and now. But our understanding, your network of which you are I found out services not just only people from your side, but at the Liberian public as a world, because we do understand that you have school in Lofa and other places, correct? Mm-hmm. So let's get it out there to the public, because probably there are other who just don't know your initiative, the engagement and things that you do. How can they get connected?
So you can get connected by contacting us through Facebook, our website, and I'll share the information with you as well on our website, which is CAN International, but international is INTL.org. And there you have our contact information. I'm always on social media, so you can get in touch with us via the website and social media. And what we do is one of those things that I think is very needed in the country, and is for us by us, I call it, because we're all Liberians, most of us at least, the implementing partners. And what we do is just make sure that we can create first a safe and quality environment where education begins. So we make sure there's an infrastructure that is not somewhere that, when people say, oh, we're building schools, no, we don't build schools, we build academic villages. So we have the education component, we have clinics.
Can you just hit that point again? I hate to interrupt because people try. The purpose of this program here, we want to change the narrative, the talking point, the conversations in Liberia, media, all of us is more ridiculous and it's not really helping the process. And this is why SCA and LPR has just come to intercede to see how we can get this message of how our country can be better for all of us. That it was a crucial point you just mentioned.
Sure. That we just don't build schools, we build academic and empowerment villages, or communities, we call them. And the reason why is we're approaching the student holistically. So in our compounds, we have the academic component, then we have the healthcare component, which is with the Mr. So can I have the screen back to normal? Do you mind?
Oh, you want me? You want all of us? Okay, let's say all of us.
My end, I just see this big screen of my face.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So within those the compounds, we have, like I said, an education component. We have healthcare. We have vocational and technical education program. We have music program. We have the arts. And so it's not just an academic space, but is a viable economic space. But it's also a space where our students in the community can appreciate the arts. So it's an income generating village, because a village is when you have many people together, right? You have a specific economy and culture. And then we also infuse our system with a specific culture based on safe conversations, which is a peace building tool that we use to effectively communicate and teach each other how to connect. So we do have a specific culture, a specific work ethic, and that's what we build. So that's why I tell people, we just not in the business of building school, but we approach education in a robust and holistic manner, and ultimately the child in that way.
Well, robust and realistic manner. Let me ask you this question here. This is an initiative on a philanthropic basis, and it requires support both locally, nationally, and all of us. I'm not going to be excluded into this conversation. What is the level of support in terms of those who are going to be a direct beneficiaries? And I'm talking about Liberia. We have the Ministry of Education. We have the central, the national government. Are there been any sort of conversations, and what is the level of support you are gathering so far?
So when it comes to our funding, we mostly get our funding from people from the West, right? And not specifically our end users, but the end users also have a responsibility. So we do not go places where we're not invited. So the people who are inviting us to create this academic empowerment community also have to provide the land and work in collaboration with us, because this is not charity work. Our foundational philosophy is based on solidarity work. So we enter those spaces not to impose what we believe our values are, but we make sure that we understand the needs of that community and work together and make sure that is culturally specific and economically specific for that community. Because doing something in Lofa completely different from doing something in Grand Jita. And what I noticed, doing something, even some parts of Grand Jita is different from doing something in another part of the same county. So we try to respect the diversity in a way we also present and develop our work. So that's number one. So everybody has a part to play. We have the people with donations. We have the ones who are doing the labor work, but everybody has an active role and requires participation. So that's one. And another thing that I always say with our executive director, Eric Wowo, is throughout this work, I've been doing it for 20 years and he's been doing it, I've been doing it for 12 years and he's been doing it for 20 years, is we have never met, not even one president. I've never met any presidents of Liberia before, and we're able to accomplish all of this. We meet with people from the Ministry of Education to make sure that we maintain a solid relationship with the ministry and that we're in compliance and we're up to date with everything we're doing in our school system. But to say that we specifically needed the government to accomplish this so far, we have not used that. But what I can say is the other government officials that we discussed, everyone's really excited. I have a different view of these things. Everyone's really positive. People provide support wherever they can. And people are really, really excited to see transformation. But we also have to understand as well that we meet a lot of people who are not doing the work. They have the visibility, but the credibility lacks. But we have the visibility and we have the credibility. So a lot of times when people meet us, they're like, where have you guys been? We're so excited to help. So, sometimes we just might look at the government or Liberians as not wanting to participate. But many times as well, people feel jaded because they're presented with a lot of projects that may not materialize into anything or not be sustainable.
Just in your conversation, we do not go to places where we are not invited.
Mm-hmm.
What is the interpretation of that?
Well, because it's a collaborative effort. And like I said, our foundation philosophy is solidarity work, not charity. Because charity is not sustainable. I can come to Mr. So's place and tell him this is what I wanted. If he's seeing poverty and deprivation and have extreme lack, he may say, okay, bring it, But that doesn't mean he's going to take ownership of the vision. Right? But if I get there, Mr. So and I, we sit down and we discuss the needs of that specific space. And we also discuss how can we work together and what role he plays and accountability and responsibility. Now the vision is different. Now the people take ownership of the vision. And once people take ownership of the vision, it continues without my involvement. There are schools that we teach how to be sustainable on their own, and that's a part of our program. So they have a sustainability plan that independently, one day I just wake up in the morning and say, you know what, Mr. So, I just want to go mama, baby, and sit down somewhere. I don't want to do this anymore, right? Everything will still be viable and will still thrive. And that's the essence of the work we do. So we have to be invited because people have to understand that they do the work in parallel with us and in collaboration with us.
We're going to be taking a reflection. Folks, this is Afonso Zay, and so this is Liberian War Today. My special guest here is Dr. STEFANIA FORTE. Is my special guest joining me right here. She was recently in Liberia. We're going to be showing you some images. It's not meant to bring back bad feelings sort of the tough day, but it's good to have a reflection on some of these painful journeys, and so that we'll get a sense. Because there is a conversation in Liberia also. Politicians, I hate to do this, but we have to say they have injected the minds of our people, and everybody seems to be in the diaspora to be antagonized. They're not doing anything. They not want anything, or they want job. I'm quite sure you don't need a job, but instead you are giving back here. So let's do this here. You were in your own county, Grange, and I think you had some great time. Let's see what happens, and we can take a little reflection before we get to the second segment. I'm Afonso Zay, and so of the Liberia Public Radio. Stay tuned with us.
To say to my sisters out there in America, say Elizabeth and her group, the grandchildren women initiative there. Want to say thanks very much to them. You know, we're sitting here thinking, for me personally, at times when I say when we at this level, don't we have anybody up there in America to think about us? Is there not any woman up there or woman child that up there that's supposed to be thinking about mother or aunt down here? And hey, our sisters and our daughter is here. I saw the photos. I saw the little children playing how they call it, the violin, how they shout, all those girl instruments. Tears came to my eyes because we're like sheep that were going astray with our shepherd. But now our daughter is here with the help for the grandchildren women in America. We are so grateful that they even thought about us. Say Cecilia Towa, no sense on our initiative they came for the name since that time. We can't hear anything. Even yesterday, they say, oh, when are your daughter came from America, this and that. I say, for me, I'm not well. So they know me because I know that the same old story. But with the things I saw on video and the message, I'm touched. And I'm very, very grateful. On behalf of the women of Grange, we say thanks to them. The money that is collected to pick up this initiative will not be a failure. Will not be
That video, if you go down and down, it was touching. What was your instant reaction? Because what she was saying is in real time, people go make promises. We're going to come back to do this, and that's the end of the game. She was hesitating. Should I go there to see her? Because we have gone through this route before. and I saw you were looking at her. I guess things were running through your head, and as an educator, and I try to empathize with the situation. What actually you capture from that moment?
And Mr. So, just watching the video, just it gives me goosebumps again every time I listen to those women speak. And the lady that was speaking in the video, that's Madame Jessida Bazon. She is the president of the Rural Women of Grand Jide County, and they're under the umbrella of the Rural Women of Liberia. So they're a very strong force in the county as well when it comes to peace building and just general um, uplifting women when it comes to microfinancing and just in farming economics. So a very, very powerful force. And we went to her house too. She taught me the song that they can sing as well when they're going in the, she said when they're going on the field, the battlefield, when they got something going on and the women have to represent. So we ate and danced and just talked together. And she said something really profound. And she said, there will be times of reflection where they would say, we the rural women here of Grand Jide. You trying to tell us that nobody in America thinking about us. We ain't got no daughter or son in our country that wants to come back here and just connect with us and do something for us. And it really touched me because when you think about it, we are all sons and daughters of rural women. Majority of the women in the country were rural women, right? Because majority of the country are rural areas. So when you think about that, you just, it touches you and you understand how in that moment when I'm looking at her and I said, I'm in the right place at the right time. I kind of figure out how I got there, but I think certain things is just that divine intervention that leads you and connects all the dots to take you to those moments. And I felt at home. I felt welcomed, I felt protected, and I also want to urge, young Grangidians who are here, like myself, who outwardly you may be perceived like you're disconnected from Liberia and your own county, that go back, go see for yourself, connect, invest. Sweju is beautiful. The place we're staying there is Cash Hotel. It was clean, we were welcomed, and it was just an overall great experience. So I want to encourage everyone to go back to your respective counties and visit and see what you can do. Your small little contribution will go a long way.
All right, we were welcome, we were happy. Let's see what your argument can justify some of these images we have. Let's share for the benefit of our audience here. This is what we capture here. Do you recognize these pictures?
Of course. So that is one of the women from the Liberian, the rural women of Grand Jide, put me on her back because she was so happy. She said, my daughter, come on my back. I said, if I come on your back, I'll break your back. So I would just come a little bit. So someone captured a moment, and you see there we have the superintendent, Kaifale. We saw everybody in leadership. They were all, look, whatever people say, go see for yourself. We were connected, we're welcome. And at the groundbreaking, Mr. So I'm not sure if you saw that video, everybody was present. The youth, the indigenous or the indigenous, the elders, the leaders, and the people when it comes to the local government, everyone was there. Everyone was represented, holding their classes for us to do the groundbreaking. That was really impressive.
All right, folks, this is Liberia Public Radio in collaboration with Sky FM in Liberia, our sister network, relaying this program. You can also get us live on Sky FM and all of the social media, YouTube, the Twitter, and the Facebook feed. Let's take a quick commercial break and then get a glass of water, then we can go to the last and final segment in today's conversation. I am Alfonso Zienso of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR TV.
From the West African nation of Côte d'Ivoire, Liberia Public Radio and Television present Business Diary. This program focuses on the activities of business institutions and individuals in society.
I'm Jeremiah Sao Senior, CEO of All Nation Bank. We have been very good to have this business established here. We are 1 year since we opened here in Anono. There have been few challenges here that have faced in this country, and that is all about the language. But here instead, I refuse to be deterred. I refuse to be discouraged. I open a business and things have been fine.
My name is Mercy Bangarinanga. I am a finance officer working for an international organization. I have a master's degree in business administration. So today I'd like to take the opportunity to talk to you about the COVID pandemic and how it has affected the business sector in terms of me working in an organization, an international organization.
Don't miss out. Be my guest. It's coming soon on Liberia Public Radio and Television.
This diary is always right here. By the way, this program, if you want to be a sponsor of this program, you can contact us or contact our brothers, our sister network in Liberia, Sky FM. That's another way of giving support. If you need more of these sort of conversations that are conducted in a civic context, to have these sort of conversations, you can contact management of Sky and that of Liberia and secure a spot. We have a group of professionals, technocrats, and advocates and people of all sectors will be lining up to appear on this network. It's time to change the narrative, the conversations in Liberia. You can leave educator out when you want a vibrant Liberia. You can leave technocrat out when you want vibrant Liberia. I feel some voices still behind, and this is why we are having this sort of conversation here. Let's get to the last and final segment here. You have added layer of all the multiple work that you are doing in Liberia and here, the literacy movement. Why are you getting yourself into all of these headache? Why is so important with that? What did you gather for which you have added another layer to the already work that you are doing, launching this sort of literacy movement in Liberia?
Sure, because literacy is the foundation, and that's where everything starts from. Literacy is that first stage before you even get to education. And sometimes people use the words interchangeably, literacy and education. So what literacy is that process and that journey of acquiring the skills of reading and writing, and especially reading skills. And it starts from the belly of the mother, where the mother starts to speak to the child. Then after the child comes out as a baby, creating a literacy environment, creating a space where we have literacy embedded practices into the home. So everything starts from the home when it comes to literacy. So that's what we call the informal literacy setting. Then that prepares the child for the formal literacy setting, which is the structured environment of a school. So the literacy journey of the child is very, very important for their academic success. And based on research, if a child is not able to read by the age of 8 in the 3rd grade, they may take that void throughout the academic journey. And I see in our country, we place a premium on higher education. You know, people are pursuing their different higher education degrees, but we're lacking a foundation. And that foundation starts very, very early. And also we see a lot of our students are having access to education later, after 8 years old, when you're already supposed to have achieved certain literacy milestones. So the reason why I'm tackling literacy is because we have different parts of it. You have the early childhood literacy, you have adult literacy, you have the whole concept of being of functional literacy, illiteracy. So those are parts of this complex issue that we have. But I focus more on the foundation of it and how do we get the home and the school to partner and build a solid relationship, but also how can we make sure our children acquire this skill very early so they are not going through the YX and not presenting us with the results that we're anticipating, or the entry exams that we see at these different universities, and our students are not thriving. Reason why is because the foundation is lacking. So hopefully this can also, not completely divert the attention of the national leaders to early childhood literacy, but make sure I at least place 50% of the premium on that process, because it's the foundation of everyone's success.
It's a very hectic task. I'm not sure, and we hope everything goes well. But they has to go inland simultaneously with policymaker, decision maker, and those that are in charge. to do their fair share or play their fair share in making sure that this message resonates and everybody is benefited. Have you explained the in-depth, or have you had the conversation? Again, I want to not to relegate this yet, but the Ministry of Education, does the arm of government responsible to that no one should be left behind? People should be able to read and write, can even sign their pen their own signature on document. How would this sort of coordination work? What are you hearing from them? Because they are in charge. In as much you want to do it, they have their fair share to play as well.
Thank you, Mr. So I firmly believe that literacy is just not only the responsibility of the government. The government does have a huge responsibility in creating quality literacy experiences and providing quality teachers in early years for the students. But everyone has a part to play as well, because I think we have over 750 schools in the country and about less than 200 are under the government. So everyone, we have different school systems. We have the governmental school system, we have the ones that are religious-based, we have the private school system. Everyone, even community-based, even the home, everyone has a part to play. And I also think the citizens inform policy. So we've initiated some conversations around how do we work together versus pointing the finger at one group and saying, you're responsible for this process, and why are you not doing the best work? How about I'm an educator. I have experience with early literacy in the involving a home in a literacy process. How about I create a space where I can play my part, but also collaborate with the government? So what we're doing is including a lot of young people who are establishing community-based literacy programs. So if you know how to read and write, you can teach somebody else how to read and write. You can, if you, Mr. So, for example, you live in a community there, let's say you in Pinsville Rehab, right? That's where we have our home. So you can say, you know what? I can start a group of probably 10 mothers with their children, and I'll teach the mothers how to read, and I call it learning in tandem. So the parents learn how to read, and the parents are able to teach the children how to read. They do that at We Care Foundation. They have the HIPPY program is the acronym. PPY is an acronym. And what they do is they encourage families and parents who are the child first educators, right? They encourage them and equip them with the skills necessary to be involved in a child education, but also teach the skills. So government is one part, the home is another part, the community is another part, and us individuals now also have to take responsibility in the literacy process. Now, when it comes to structured education, then we can say, okay, well, government, you the ones, you have the schools and the private school system, religious-based school system, we can discuss with a different system. But literacy is a process that everybody can participate in.
All right. As you note, the traditions of this network, we also allow our viewers and onliners, those they participate online, and they bring some good questions, and we'll let us share those questions with our guests. So let me bring this one here. It's coming from our own Sisi Goyot. He's also an educator. He's a scholar, a teacher. He's here based in Minnesota. This is the question: does the quality of teachers' training play a role?
Of course, quality teachers do play a role in providing quality education. And I always say this, you can give an average curriculum to a great teacher and it transforms. The lesson will transform. And you can give a great curriculum to an average teacher and you just may have average work. So the role of the teacher is very, very important. The training of the teacher is very, very important, especially within the structured educational system. But also when it comes to literacy, like I said before, parents are also teachers, and parents are the one that start that literacy process before the child gets into the arms of the teachers. And also I want to encourage parents that we're just not once a child goes to the school system, it's just not the responsibility only of the school system. I look at myself as a co-teacher, not because I'm an educator by training, but we have to be there to make sure that we advocate for our children and to also be involved in their progress. So definitely, I'm a teacher. Teacher training is very important.
I'm not sure what are the statistics on hand that will help you and others who have embarked on this sort of initiative. And I was it big thank you to Sisi, because he's one of those going in and out to help to train teachers. But it has to be a teamwork. World Bank UNESCO 2007 statistic, 51.7% aged from 15 to 24. do we have any figure in place in Liberia that we can dwell on? This is the group or this is the segments of our society that needs this sort of help so that it can be explored outside to the international community to or to what you and many others are doing. Is there anything you gather from the Ministry of Education, for example, or other independent research group on the status of what country literacy rate or programs, something like that?
Sure, and as you just shared, we have a very young population, and we have a literacy rate that's even higher for women. I believe we're in the 60%, if I'm not, I don't remember the exact number. But and in the rural areas, those numbers, whatever numbers we're getting, the situation is definitely worse in the rural areas and worse for women. So specific statistics from the Ministry of Education, I don't have it from them, but we can all go online, Mr. Sloan. You can read this from different sources. You even have the infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, illiteracy rate with women, illiteracy rate with men. We have all of those statistics. So anybody, I just don't want to polarize this responsibility and access to knowledge on one group of people, the people who are educators or the people who have the power to change. But every Liberian, like you did, Mr. So, can go right now on Google and get some kind of information on the different indexes and the statistics of our country. Go there, do your own research. Just don't only listen to me and Mr. So. Do your own research and see what role you can play to at least do a part in decreasing those negative statistics.
And like I said, Sissy, this is one of his passions from time to time, even during our regular programs here. Here's what he's saying again here. How can the poor community dwellers who have to fetch for their daily bread for more than 75% of their day to participate? I'm not sure what he's trying here, but this has to do with this community. There are people you want them to learn, you want them to know how to read, but they can't even get their daily meal. They are not even sure whether they're going to get something to eat. How can you treat the minds of that child, or even the mother who has to go miles and miles to get little thing for that child? And you're going to tell that child, hey, come and learn how to spell your name, write your name. How do you navigate through that?
Yeah, it's very difficult. And Mr. So, thank you for mentioning this, and to the person who just shared this question, thank you so much, because that is something we've struggled with, right? Just with us requiring parents to participate in a child literacy journey, in a child academic journey, when they can barely meet their own basic needs. And I've encountered that a lot. Even my doctoral research, I did it in West Point, right? With the We Care Foundation, with the literacy program that involved mothers, mostly mothers, who were selling bread, cucumber, eggs per day, making less than $5 a day. $5, that was a successful day, making those kind of amounts, but they were still, once they understood, you see, sometimes we take the power away from people. We just assume they may not want it, or we assume we're providing or adding more of a burden on people. But what I've noticed, and We Care Foundation is an amazing program also funded by Friends of Liberia. In my experience, what I've found out is when you give the people the knowledge and the responsibility, you see something that transforms. Every mother, independently if you can't find bread, independently of your social economic status, you want best for your child. If you know that you have something that can make your child better than you will do it. And I've seen mothers and fathers in Liberia do it over and over again. I sat with mothers, I sat with grandmothers. One mother in West Point she would cook soup every day, right? And that's how she was able to send her grandchild to school. And in the evening, a mother West Point is sharing rooms. It's not even indoor plumbing. And that's one of I make that example because I went into one of the worst communities to do my research and continue to have a relationship with people in that community. Is after 12 hours of selling cucumbers all day, you come home, then we're telling you, say, oh, but teach your child this and teach your child that. But what we do is we show that, look, we have options here, right? We can say, okay, are too tired, you're not able to do it, but just that small you can do with your child can change that child's life. Just that 5 minutes you can do with your child will change that child's life and change your life. And you see, a lot of times we look at literacy as you got to really sit down and open a book and use pen and paper. What we teach mothers is as you are counting the money at the end of the day, right? That child sitting down, you're learning numeracy, you're learning numbers. When you sit down and you tell the child stories, right? That's the literacy process. When you sit down and the child take a stick and you say, okay, draw A for mama, or draw a B for papa, that's a literacy process. So we make it fun, we make it easy. And one thing I've learned, the women are so resilient. Those women want more for the children than they've ever were able to have for themselves. So I believe in that power of mothers wanting more for their children because I've seen it, and fathers as well in the country.
Please permit me to share this because we are trying to communicate directly with our people. The diasporan community, whether in the USA, other parts of the world, as long as you are outside of Liberia, because the narrative that is being told there is nobody is doing anything. We're just out of job. I don't want to sound political, but that's part of my job because I strongly believe politicians are poisoning the minds of our people, and we seems to be like a haters. But I want to share this here with you to illustrate that indeed there are good Liberians, just how there are good and bad ones out there. They are also bad here. But it's an ultimate gamble. You risk your life. You are comfortable seated here. But I want to show this here, the journey that you went on, just to give back to your countrymen, to give back to your country because of the love of your country. And I want us to see this. Okay. That was a pickup in that sort of condition. Mm-hmm. How can someone in Liberia, how can someone on planet Earth to say the people in America or the people in the diaspora, they are not giving back. They are not doing anything. Mm-hmm. It's just by the grace of God. Anything could have happened, but God knows the reason. How can someone tell us and just put us, so say, Clinton, in a basket of deplorable that we are not meaningful? We are not doing anything, but we are just after job. Don't you deserve job with your qualification to make the system in the country work? When you see that image and somebody look at you, oh, in fact, she's not a Liberian, she's not this. What does that suggest to you? What is lacking? Are we not? It appears to me probably we are not having the genuine conversation we should have as a community, as a country, and as a people, and even neighbor. So it's contributing to this, and it's one of the reasons for which SCA and LPR now is trying to kind of change this sort of narrative and talking point. And this water that is being poisoned by politicians with our brothers and sisters, it has to change.
And that was a well-packed question, so I'm trying to organize it in my head. So I guess the point here is we're seeing a disconnect between the diaspora and with people in Liberia. And basically what you're saying is that when someone in the diaspora tries to insert themselves in that space in Liberia and do something for the country, there's that perception of them doing it for an ulterior motive because they want a job. Am I getting that clear?
Yeah. No, what I'm saying, the general concept here is people in the diaspora, they are not doing anything. Which is unfair.
I don't believe that at all. And first of all, people have to understand that I know we have access to resources in a diaspora. I know we are privileged and we have access to more things. But Liberia is not cheap. Anybody that goes to Liberia understand Liberia is very, very expensive. Just going to Grand Juda County, right? If you have to take one or two vehicles and you need a rental vehicle, the price is different from if you're renting a car in just to move around the city. So for example, it might be $250 per day per car. So before you can even rent cars, then you need manpower. The reason why I was the only woman with 10 men is because if the car gets stuck, you need manpower, right? So you can't just go to me and Eric will go into Grand Jita happily on the road. We need people with us. So traveling with that many people is very, very costly. So if sometimes you see that people are unable to make those long distances, it's because, first of all, it's the financial restriction, and it's very dangerous. Even getting to those spaces is very, very dangerous. We see pictures of accidents happening all the time on the road. You never know if your car gets into the water, what will happen there. It's a very dangerous journey, but I know a lot of Liberians in the diaspora that are yearning to do things back home in the country, that are doing great work in the country. So I'm not sure if there's a disconnect or a misinterpretation or a wrong narrative, but I've encountered many Liberians in the diaspora that are doing great work. Then you also have people who have other interests, but that's like anywhere. But it's costly, and sometimes we put a lot of burden on people, you know? So go to Grand Jita was not easy money. And anybody who goes there, especially rainy season, it's thousands of dollars just to make it to the county. Then you have your responsibility with the family members and just with different things you have to do there. So it costs a lot as well to go.
I know, Mandela, even though you bring education, you can't help about and I eat to do.
You come in school, you got so, or you can go there with any kind of vehicle. You need vehicles that are specific for those roads. Right. So it costs a lot. So when you see sometimes people probably they're in the Montserrat or in the surrounding counties, it's because just the emotional preparation, before we say physical preparation, right? To get to those places is hard. It's very hard. It's not easy. We make it look like it's easy, but that was a journey that when I came back home, I slept for 2 days. It's hard to do.
Do you think educators, scholars, people like you, do you think it's time to have a sort of conference, whether they are in Liberia, they are outside of Liberia, to take a different approach to address these issues and put forward to national government? Because in as much you have a GUHA and many others, it's a partnership, it's a teamwork. One side can be walking away and other people forge ahead. Do you think it's time to revisit these sort of educational programs and for better Liberia? Some sort of conference?
Sure. We're always, I'm sure my colleagues and myself, we're always open to conferences and roundtable discussions about how to participate and to provide our skills and elevate the educational system and different parts of it based on our expertise in our country. But I think we also spend a lot of time doing that. In our country right now, we need, the pragmatists. We need people who are going to put their boots on and go to those spaces and do the work. So after we talk, there should be some action. And I think that we have a lot of conferences and awareness and roundtable discussions. And I believe we've saturated that space in a way. We just need now to at least implement it once we have already. Whatever policies that we have and anything we have in writing, let's go and roll our sleeves and do the work, especially in the rural areas, because the rural areas are lacking everything, not just the basic. They're lacking everything. They're cut off from the rest of the country, even during the rainy season. It's horrible.
Okay. Our senior analyst, he's also a scholar, an educator, and a contributor of the Liberian Public Radio. He's based in Minnesota. Let me just bring him in here because this is his passion every day here. In fact, he's trying to package something. Sister Goya is standing by in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Is joining this conference here. This is his passion. This is what he does for a living. Sister Goya is here with me here this morning or afternoon here. Sister Tai, good morning.
Hey, how are you doing, man? Dr. Forte, my greetings to you, my honor to you, blessings to you. Anybody who veer into education is definitely raising their hand for a lifetime of poverty. So for you to volunteer for that, and not only that, but to go back to Liberia where you have to stretch your meager resources. My blessings to you. The ancestors have to be proud of you. Blessings, my sister. I'm in awe of what you're doing, and it's people. These are the kind of stories that we need to elevate. It's people like you who refuse to sit on your hands because you got a PhD, and want for other people to also have the same thing that you have. It's people like you that we need in our country. Thank you so much for all you're doing, my sister. There's not a whole lot I can say. Thank you. I am in awe of you.
you.
Okay, well, that's it. We are almost running out of time here, but and hopefully we can have these conversations at different levels to enhance the quality of our people. Our case here, my son is out there on his computer doing his stuff. Well, how many of a kids in Liberia can do that? And sometimes when these conversations are not being kept, and we just see this sort of red meat, kitchen sink conversation is going out there. And they think Liberia just going to be like Ghana or want to be like USA. No, there is a greater segment of the society that is just not being paying attention to. So it doesn't matter who goes in that fortified executive mansion that we used to call it. You have certain segment that is being disadvantaged. It will be the same old thing, and it becomes liability on society. I will have a few minutes to chat with Sissy. Just hold on here, but let me go to my special guest as we are running out of time here. Hopefully we can work on the time limit here of this program, because we need a big census in the head of people, everybody, all of us, including myself here. What was the most takeaway during your trip in Liberia, and what next for you?
I had time to reflect after leaving Grand Judah, but I think I'm still in that processing period, because when you think you know something, then all of a sudden you go to a specific area and you see how it's worse than what you thought, right? So there were parts where of my county where I didn't see the well, I didn't see the hand pump. And when I asked, how do you fetch water? They said, oh, we have to go to the creek. The creek is not right yet. The creek is like miles away. To fetch water, and fetch water, just water. And that's a different level of poverty. Then I think about, we talk about the dreams. What are your dreams? How do I ask somebody who doesn't have a well or a hand pump that their reality is to walk miles for one bucket of water, and they have to do it over and over again to probably get what they need? How do I ask that family or that child, what is your dream? What dreams do you have when you're in that environment? That when they see me and I'm a Black woman, they're looking at me like I'm a white woman, right? And they're looking at me like, where are you from? And I'm from there. Like, what question do I ask? It's a different reality that I have to process. It's a different experience for me. It was, but it was also such a humbling and learning experience. And I want everybody to enter those environments as a learner. Don't enter that place that, oh yeah, I'm an educator. I know that based on the statistics and the research. Throw all that out the window. Go connect with people and recognize your privilege and just sit with the people and see what they need. What they need may not even be what you went for, but it's what they need in that moment, right? And gain the trust, build a relationship. Then from there, you can start talking about the importance of education. You can start talking about community building. You start talking about sustainability. So going to the rural parts of Liberia, passing through River Cess, the road was even worse in River Cess area. Sino, see how this place has so much potential to be beautiful, and just seeing young people, our young girls getting pregnant so early. That's a different reality when you in Monserrato County, Magibi. It's not Liberia. The other Liberia is the other part that I saw. So I saw my country for the first time. I can say I know Liberia, or I've seen Liberia. The other parts throughout my life, that's not what the statistics are. I was able to say, oh, I see when they say this statistic like this is how it looks. This is poverty to the point that I didn't even know what to say. So I just sat there humbly and I listened and I learned, and I have a duty to use whatever I have and to mobilize people with me that we have to, because I can't do it by myself. Mobilize everybody so we can go do it together. And I'll say this last thing too. You see, Mr. So I know every time, you can try to push me to answer a political question. So then I will go here, then you'll bring me to the left. And I understand, because you see,
They're driving this.
I know. And you always see when you bring in there, I put it to this side. So we play that,
I know you deploy your radar for that sort of deflection anyway.
Exactly. So, and the reason why I do that is because we have our social media when it comes to the problems in our country is so saturated with the government doing this and the government doing that. This is what the government should do. But I believe that I have the power to make a difference. And if me, with other Liberians, all three of us here, a bunch of us together, we have the power to be different. We have the power to make our government accountable, right? So the government is one part of it. That's just one part of it. But I still believe in the power of the community, and I believe in the power of the people.
Dr. STEFANIA FORTE, thank you so much for your time, for your expertise, and we say hats off to all you, your organizations, and folks that are around you doing. Thank you so much for giving back to your country.
Thank you for the time. Thank you so much. I appreciate you always. Thank you for this platform.
Okay. Look, say we are almost out of time here, but put it into context here. You as an educator, you as a scholar, this is your whole passions. What is the conversation needs to be injected into this world, in the society of Liberia, to make Liberia what it should be like?
Well, I'd like to end on where Dr. FORTE almost kind of ended. Start with where she almost kind of ended when she talked about asking people for their dreams. And when those people are living in abject poverty. So we always say education is the way forward. The way forward from where to where. Sometimes for me to be able to move forward, I have to be able to imagine what that forward looks like. And that's what you're talking about. In order for you to dream, you have to have somewhere to lay your head. I mean, metaphorically, right? So if you ask somebody for their dreams, what are you doing? Where are you preparing for them to lay their heads? And so this conversation, she was right, that there are a lot of stakeholders that should be involved in this conversation. That includes parents, the community, and government. But the biggest portion of that is the government, because by law, the government is in charge of education, by law. But that does not preclude, like she said, private citizens and Liberians who have privilege to have had education to help out in the system. The only problem is that, you can help, you can only help that much, right? And I know, helping one kid is a great thing. I get it. I'm not trying to undermine that, because even I do teacher training from my personal pocket. But that can only go so far. And I imagine what Dr. FORTE is doing can only go so far, and bless her heart for what she's doing. But this has to become a national conversation. And I like what you talked about, trying to mobilize.
I had to do this yesterday. The old man on the wall now, the clock is pushing us, not doing other favor. But we will continue this conversation, the post conversation with Dr. FORTE late this evening. I want to thank you so much, and we're going to meet you. Well, folks, I am Alfonso Zayan Sort of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR TV in this major news content sharing with our sister network in Liberia, Sky Communications Network. We want to thank you so much and say our deepest appreciation to the members or to the Sky family. This is at no cost. Usually to have this sort of relay you pay, it is at no cost. It is a clear indication that both networks have come to understand the urgency in all of us interventions to make sure to be Liberia where it should be. Next coming Sunday, I will be right back here again. This time, a colleague within the same industry, a media practitioner, will be joining me. We told you no one will be left behind in this conversation, the Liberian war today. All must be part of the conversation. So I want to thank you so much for your time. Let me bring in a man, Julius, is standing by in Sky Studios in Liberia, and we're going to be wrapping up for the rest of the event. Let me bring you here. Julius.
Yeah, Mr. So, how you doing? Interesting conversation.
And I take it away from our end.
Hello?
Yeah. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now. It's an interesting conversation. I just sat back and listened to the questions and answers, and that was credible. Good work from her, and those are some of the things some of us want to see in this country to transform the lives of people, not just people in urban area, but those in the interior, far from city. But it's a good one. It's a good one.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, so we meet next Sunday again. Thanks for the time.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Sky 107, let's quickly join the BBC for the news, and after that, the mayor GCP will be here with you. I'll come back later on at 8 o'clock to bring you a special interview with